Okay. It is 6:30, so I will call the meeting to order of the Oregon School District Board of Education. It is Monday, November 14th, and we are here at the OSD Innovation Center at Oregon High School. Katie, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Bijak? Here. Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Dr. Lakuta?
Here.
Mr. LeBrun?
Here.
Mr. Pankratz? Ms. Wright?
Here.
Ms. Flanagan?
Present. The board does have a quorum, and I do have from Ms. Heitz that this meeting has been properly noticed, so we are good there. Before I entertain a motion to approve the agenda, I just want to make note, we do have no action items tonight. We do have some information items, and then the board will be going into closed session at the close of this meeting, and then will not return to open session. So just want to make that note so people are aware. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We have an agenda. Next is consent calendar, and we have the normal items on the consent calendar, and I will mention the following donations. We have $4,000 from 1901 Incorporated for the scoreboard sponsorship. We have 317 articles of clothing and winter gear from the Oregon Lions Club chapter, which has helped students with clothing and winter clothing. And then we also have $330 from the Brooklyn Methodist Church for the Family Needs Fund. So we do thank those individuals and organizations for those really important donations to the Oregon School District and our students in need. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. All right, we have a motion and a second. Katie, could you please call the roll?
Mr. LeBrun?
Yes.
Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Ms. Bijak?
Yes.
Dr. Lakuta?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Flanagan?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Moving on to B, information items. We do not have anybody registered for public comment. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak for public comment? Going once? Anyone else? All right, we will move on to 2, OEA report. I don't believe the OEA is here this evening for a report. And then next is the student. Colleen, are you giving an OEA report?
No.
Okay. All right, we will move on to a student report. We were supposed to have a student here tonight, but they are not here, so if they come, we will move that to later in the agenda. Okay, moving on to C, action items. Like I mentioned, we do not have any action items this evening, so we will move to D, discussion items, which is committee reports. And first is policy, so I'll turn that over to Heather.
Yes, we are looking forward to meeting on December 14th prior to the board meeting.
Okay, and then moving on to B, vision steering. Troy is not here this evening, so I'm sure he will get in touch with committee members and he will schedule that meeting forthcoming as well. Okay, moving right along to E, information items. Number 1 is the referendum election update. So as is policy to get it into the public record, I will turn it over to our clerk, Anna, who will read the election results.
Thanks, Krista. So I do have in front of me the tally from the meeting that we held earlier this week. No, last week. It's Monday. So this was last week on Friday. We did go through and read all of the tallies, and the total votes for yes are 7,966, and the total votes for no are 5,348. So this is a passing referendum.
All right, great. Thank you, Anna. Nate, welcome to the meeting. We're going to swing back to you after the next one to give your student report, but I'm now going to turn it over to Dr. Bergstrom to say a few words and talk about next steps.
Thank you, everybody. I want you to take a look at the screen here. We have some pictures of really what we value very highly as a community. What you can see depicted in these pictures are positive, caring, trusting relationships between the educators in our buildings and our students, and all focused on learning, because that was what was at the heart of the referendum. It was really about our students and their learning and the adults who serve them, and ensuring that we remain competitive in this very unusual time, and we're able to keep these excellent educators and attract more when the need arises. And it was very clear from the community referendum discussions, the planning sessions that we had, that our community values our educational system and the educators who comprise it. No matter whether they supported the referendum question, they value education, and the Oregon School District is important to them. For that, I am profoundly grateful. I think we all are. And because of the successful passage of the referendum, I think we'll be able to do really excellent things in service of our students. And that's really where we go next, because now it's about how to ensure we are doing exactly what we said we would do, which is retain and attract excellent educators by offering competitive salaries that keep up with inflation. So we are embarking on this important job. This is our focus. And because the referendum passed, I think we do, as a school district, have the ability to really do some great things in the area of retention and attraction of our staff. And remember, what we're really trying to do overall is kind of stay the great place we are, right? We want to remain a destination district. In order to do that, we have to retain our educators and attract new ones when the need arises. And one way to ensure we're keeping our great people is taking a look at the 1.23 we were not able to give them on their base wage in 21-22, and also the 4.7 percent, the CPIU at 4.7 that we were not able to do at the beginning of 22-23. So essentially, our current educators are working from their 2020 to 2021 salaries. And what we are now able to do with the first year of the referendum is make up for those 2 years, 21-22 and 22-23, when we were not able to do anything to increase their base pay. And there's a process that we're using to do this. So what we have been working on all week and prior to the passage of the referendum, because we wanted to be prepared for these important discussions, is the administrative team is developing draft proposals for the 22-23 compensation, based on the 5.93 that we've been talking about over the course of our referendum information sessions, the 1.23 and the 4.7. So we've been analyzing compensation in other area districts, in addition to looking at what 5.93 added to the base of our educators, whether it's the OEA, our hourly staff, our partners such as bus contractors and 4K providers. We've been looking at all of that. The next step in the process is to share whatever plans are ready at this point, share them with the board for further discussion. And right now, we are taking plans to our board to discuss compensation for our hourly staff. We've been able to analyze the compensation in area districts, and that will be the first set of proposals that we bring to the board for discussion. And then after that, we'll be holding information sessions for that group of people, the people who are in our hourly pay groups. Those are several groups within there, such as paraprofessionals, custodians, administrative assistants, food service. So all of the people who are paid on an hourly basis. We'll be holding information sessions to help them understand the process we've been using and what Ms. Jonan has been looking at in other districts to be able to understand what it will take to remain competitive for pay for our staff. And then after we do those things, so develop a draft, talk to the board, hold information sessions, then we will come back to the board and they would vote on our draft plans. We would present it and they would decide whether or not they were going to approve the plan or send us back to do some more work on it. For the staff represented by the OEA, and that's a large portion of our staff, we will be opening negotiations about the educator compensation schedule for 22-23, and the first session is on November 29th. So it's about working together, analyzing all of the important information from neighboring districts, talking to the board, talking to the people impacted, and then bringing the information back to the board for board approval. And we'll be using that same process over and over again. And one of the things that I think is really important to mention is that as we're developing drafts for 22-23, we're developing them without really understanding how the referendums that passed in other districts will be influencing their salary schedules for 22-23. We don't have that information for all of the area districts. So it's important to note that we will again be analyzing area districts and the impact that the passage of the referendums had on their salary schedules in the spring, to then talk again about the 23-24 compensation schedule. So this is something that will be, of course, ongoing, and we know that this isn't something that will be accomplished in 1 year, but accomplished over time.
All right, so I'm going to stop right now to ask if the board, again, this is an information item, so board can ask clarifying questions about the process. We're not talking about wages or any compensation right now, but if you have any questions for Dr. Bergstrom or Leslie or, Dr. Bergstrom, Gina, or Andy about the process, the floor is open for those questions. Go ahead, Anna.
The one thing I just want to make sure we're not losing sight of, or making sure we're continuing to explore, is not just this compensation piece, but we talked about a second prong, and that is kind of the climate, why do we keep our educators besides just the compensation piece? And I think that's another important part of this. The referendum has been our focus because that was the most important critical need. But now I think we also need to be incorporating that. So I just want to make sure we don't lose sight of that component of what we're talking about with retaining and attracting and keeping our great staff.
Thank you. I wish I had remembered to say that, because that is, as you said, that's phase 2. So that will be, there'll be an email going out to staff explaining our process for collecting input on that too.
Go ahead, Heather.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say I'm really grateful to be sitting here and having this conversation and this PowerPoint slide as opposed to the alternative. It feels much different, and I'm super grateful to the community so that we can sit here and have that, and it feels really good.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Tim.
You mentioned that we've been doing some analysis of our neighboring districts. Any surprises? Either, and I'm not talking specifically, but in general, are there any surprises that you found in doing that benchmarking?
Gina, I know this was a significant part of the role you played. Would you like to talk about that?
So no surprises. I think the key part is what Dr. Bergstrom mentioned, that we don't know. Other districts are in the same planning mode that we are. So when we talk as HR directors, what we don't know is how the passage of their referenda are going to affect their increases. We know that ours are going to go into effect for 22-23 because we haven't implemented anything yet. Other districts have. So what I don't know is if they're going to change what they implemented for 22-23 and add to it, or if they're going to add it in 23-24. So no surprises yet, but stay tuned.
And again, as you mentioned, some have implemented already because they simply intended to use one-time money primarily, whether it's from their fund or from leftover ESSER funds or whatever the case may be, right? That's what you're talking about. When you say some have implemented already, their intent was to move forward, even if it was just one-time funds.
Right, and so for example, because it's amended in the news, Madison did increase compensation for support staff as of July 1, and then did another increase in the last month or so because they were having a hard time filling positions. So that's the unknown factor, is that will districts add to what they've already put out there because they're having a difficult time attracting staff.
Any other questions? Okay, just a couple things. One, I think it's really important just to reiterate what Dr. Bergstrom said, that as the community expects this, we're going to be very deliberate in terms of this process and look at employee groups and what we need to do, both for a CPI increase, but also looking at a market analysis, which is really what Gina's talking about. And so I also, too, really appreciate the conversations that we were able to have with the community. Those are really important, and those will continue. And I think, to Heather's point, we are very fortunate. As you saw today from the WASB mailing, a lot of districts across the state had successful referendums, but some of our friends did not. Fort Atkinson, Jefferson, Lake Mills, and some up north. So I feel for those school districts that are really in a difficult position right now. And so we feel very fortunate to live in a community that values education. And so we will be very deliberate and thoughtful and open to conversations. So I just wanted to say that from the behalf of the board. So thank you. Okay. Anything else, Dr. Bergstrom?
I just wanted to point out too that related to how grateful we all are that we are in this position tonight and talking about a process to be able to compensate our excellent educators. Board President Flanagan and I did send out a letter to our families, making sure everyone knew that the referendum passed and thanking them all for their consideration of the referendum question. And I wish I had a list that would allow me to do that for the entire community, because I really do appreciate all of the thought that people put into answering the really important question we placed before them.
All right, so taking a divergence from e-information items, because Nate is here. So we're going to go back to student reports. So welcome, Nate, and the floor is yours.
Alrighty, thank you. I'll skip the introduction because I think I don't see any new faces, but here with the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, just to give input on what students are thinking about the stuff that goes on here. Students obviously don't usually have a place here beyond just a couple, so it's important that there's that two-way communication. That's really the focus of the Advisory Council as a whole. So at school right now, fall sports are starting. Clearly, a little bit late and a little bit wet from swim, but today was the first day of that. And our play just happened. We had Almost Maine Friday through Sunday night, featuring a whole bunch of OHS students. Fall sports are gearing up for all sorts of people, especially basketball will be a big one this year. Within the Student Superintendent Advisory Council, we're continuing our focus on student well-being this year in putting positive messaging on the mirrors in a bunch of different bathrooms around the school. We did a trial run for, I believe, 2 weeks, and are now kind of expanding that to have a couple students that are on that board come in, write something nice in the mirror, just to kind of remind students that school doesn't have to be all negative. Beyond that, we're looking towards other ways we can increase wellness and make students more excited to come to school in the morning. And that's where we are today.
Great. Thank you so much, Nate. We really appreciate you being here in your report. All right, moving to information item number 2, which is attendance at the WASB convention. So just wanted to make sure board members know that that convention is January 18th through 20th this year in Milwaukee. We tend to attend that as board members because there are very helpful informational sessions, and we can have conversations with our counterparts across the state. So we always encourage board members to go. Katie will be getting some information out to the board, so please respond to her email promptly if you're able to attend in your plans, so we can, because that will be here before we know it. Is there anything else, Dr. Bergstrom, you want to add? Okay, moving on to 3, visioning and strategic planning.
Thank you. Really, this is going to be quite short tonight, too. And one of the most important pieces that I wanted to point out is that within the framework of our strategic planning, we do have our 22 to 25, school year 22 to 25 priorities. And really much of what is possible for priority 1, 2, 3, and 5 is because we are able to really feel good about priority 4, which is the future financial health of the Oregon School District. Because of the successful passage of the referendum, I think a lot of the other things are really going to be able to be what we can focus on, and that's really exciting. Teaching and learning update, we are going to be absolutely full to the brim the next couple of board meetings on teaching and learning updates, so you get just a very slight break from that information. You've got a lot of great information coming up, and if you don't mind, I'd like to move to the superintendent's report. Good. All right. Veterans Day. So we had a variety of ways to honor our veterans throughout the school district. a lot of projects that were happening in schools. You can see the excellent display of books regarding veterans in the OMS library. In the corner left, you also see our OSD retiree, our famous Brooklyn elementary teacher, Dale Schultz, who loves opportunities to come back and interact with students. And this time it was through talking about what it means to him to be a veteran and helping students understand what was special to him about his service to his country. So we're very proud of the fact that our students had a lot of different ways to show appreciation to people who have done such an honorable thing, the people who've served in the military. The next thing is we had our school psychologist week. It was last week, November 7th through the 11th. And you can see here we've got quite an amazing team. We're very appreciative for their professional expertise. I know that this is an area where, once again, we would love to see more people entering the field. And it's a rewarding thing. It is something that I hope other people are interested in doing, because the people you see on the screen give a lot to our school communities, to our students. The next thing is Shania Lenters is one of our world language teachers, and she just received the Frank M. Grittner New Teacher Award from the Wisconsin Association of Foreign Language Teachers. So once again, our foreign language department, they just seem to continue to rise to the top all the time. So I'm very, very pleased that she received that honor, and we're very grateful to have her on our team. Speaking of honors, I don't know how many of you have seen the tweets and the news articles regarding our own Brittany Spencer Grant and her State Award of Merit from the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association. It's a national level award awarded to a person in each state, and Brittany was the representative for Wisconsin. So that's pretty wonderful. Congratulations, Brittany. We appreciate all the work you do for our kids. And speaking of, I hope some of you had the wonderful opportunity to either watch via live stream, or maybe some of you were there to see our high school boys soccer team win the state championship. That was an amazing game. And I don't know if anybody in the stands or on the field had a dry piece of clothing on them by the time the game was over, but it was worth every single second. It was very exciting. The biggest excitement was seeing the look on the boys' faces when they were running around the field with the trophy. It was pretty fantastic. We also want to say congratulations to our OHS swim team members who participated in the state swim meet this past weekend in Waukesha. So that is another great honor for our kids. Elise Block, Izzy Block, Kennedy Ferris, Noelle Marsh, Haley Siren, and Olivia Sina. So Oregon took 13th out of 36 scoring teams. Heartland Arrowhead won the Division I state meet, and they beat out Brooklyn East, who was the second runner-up. And this is the first time, this is exciting, in 19 years that OSD has been on the podium as a top 6 finisher at the state meet, and they did it twice. Elise Block finished 4th in the 50-yard freestyle, and the 400 freestyle relay team of Block, senior Izzy Block, freshman Olivia Sina, and senior Noelle Marsh added a 6th place finish in the final event of the night to also reach the podium. That's really cool.
Is that an Eddie Brugnano photo? That is an amazing photo.
I bet it is, yeah.
That's incredible.
That's
that is
a great
so cool.
photo. And to all our conference athletes, there's really an incredible list of all conference athletes. You know what? I'm gonna say them all because they all deserve a mention. For football, we had second team Trevor Barlow, Evan Miles, Tyler Wald. Honorable mention was Will Christ, Charles DeGuano, Bryce Gagner, Andrew Jakey, Seth Nide, and Grant Wolenchek. I'm sorry, Grant. I'm going to have to tell you that I apologize later. I think it's just Wolang. Okay. Cross country, of course, we had Dasha Vorontsov made first team again. I think she has gone to state every year she has ran. She's an incredible runner. Second team, we have Libby Byrne, Will Cram, Reese Evans, and Bila Fry. For golf, we had Delaney Halverson and Addison Sable in first team, and Drew Hoffer in second team. For volleyball, we had second team Coco Barnett and Sophia Sai. An honorable mention to Greta Shriver. And soccer, first team, this is a big list. First team went to Mason Dirks, Anthony Ehlert, Noah Malcook, and Casey Schonecker. And second team was Luke Bennett, Kellen Dirks, and Colin Vandermouse. My goodness, that's a list, right? So congratulations to all of them. And then we also had athletes who signed for collegiate play. That is, they signed their national letter of intent Wednesday, November 9th at the high school. Elise Boyd signed for the women's soccer team at Cleveland State. Aubrey Kaya did the women's soccer at UW La Crosse. Ashley Wolf was women's soccer at Illinois State. And Seth Nide was men's lacrosse at Lewis University. So congratulations to all of them. There'll be another signing ceremony in April. It was also National STEAM Day on November 8th. And then STEAM, so that everybody knows, stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. And students in STEAM classes are activities that engage in project-based or inquiry-based learning to create knowledge and solve problems. That's what they're all doing together. We're so lucky to have so many STEAM concepts incorporated into our regular classes, but then also to have dedicated STEAM classes. So these photos are from our STEAM classes at the middle school. And then this was really nice too. If you were out driving last week, on Friday afternoon, you saw Oregon middle school students with rakes all over Oregon. So they were raking lawns for any of the community members who live near OMS. This is a great example of our values of strong family and community partnerships, helping our students understand how important it is to be contributors to our community. That's really portrait of a graduate stuff, isn't it? So that was great to see. Middle school students, they played in the honors band at Sun Prairie. So that was another excellent honor, I would say, for our musicians. And I know the high school honors band the people who are selected for high school honors band are playing at Verona tomorrow night too. So there's something coming up there. But the middle school students performed November 12th at Cardinal Heights Middle School. So once again, another group of students we should be very proud of. And these are cool pictures too. Badger Conference Honors Choir. That concert took place in October at the Hamel Music Center at the UW campus. So gorgeous aesthetics, as you can see, and I bet the acoustics are amazing. So I'm sure it was quite an honor for our students not only to be selected, but also to be able to perform in that kind of venue. So that's really exciting. 10 schools were represented in this honors choir, 136 students overall, and they had 2 choir directors from the university, and they rehearsed for 8 hours to prepare for this particular concerts. So the students who were a part of it were Luke Bartolene, Nick Brandenburg, Audra Dyer, Eve Gardy, Sam Youngers, Allison Langto, Betsabe Ramos, Catherine Stoneman, Alexa Stoffels, Abigail Wanta. Oh, look, we have a lot of kids here, you guys. For juniors, it was Bridget Tushowski, Tristan Jackson. For sophomores, it was Willem Dutcher, Ryan Fahey, and Miles Tilonen. So, wow, you guys, that's really something. As was the fact that we have 2 students who are nominated for a Jerry Award. So the Jerry Awards are They're awards that are given out at the Overture Art Center. It's a musical award program that recognizes and encourages honors excellence in musical high school theater. So Erica Brisky, who's a sophomore, and Bo Bastion Jacobs, a freshman, look at that, were selected for the 22-23 Southern Wisconsin Jerry Ensemble. That's a premier vocal performance group. So that's amazing for two people who were at the first half of their high school career. They were the only two students who auditioned from a network of 40 different schools, well, only two of the students who auditioned from a network of 40 different schools. So they'll be able to join quite a few other people from around Wisconsin, or southern Wisconsin, and that's really cool. See, this is why I needed extra time, because our kids are doing such fun things. So this is depicting the students in Mr. Derek's fundamental photography class. They recently engaged in a really cool opportunity during their field trip to the H.H. Bennett Studio Inn. If you look at what this is, you'll know exactly where they are, right? They're in Wisconsin Dells. This is the 24th annual fall trip for the OHS photography class. They've been doing this a long time. And the Upper Dells, they were there to observe some of H.H. Bennett's favorite photographic haunts. The camera shutters were clicking as the upstart photographers watched a dog jump Standing Rock. What? That makes me nervous. Recreating the historic leap made by Bennett's son, Ashley, in 1886 to produce the world's first ever freeze frame photo. So the kids were learning quite a bit, and it looks like they had a beautiful day for their trip, too. We also want to honor our school career participant, Aubrey. She's a senior. She spends part of her day working at UW Health Radiology. So another example of great opportunities our students are able to get at the high school. And then this weekend, we had the play Almost Maine. I attended the Saturday night performance, and they were wonderful. So congratulations to all participants and to Mr. Doucette, who was directing the play. That was a really nice way to spend a Saturday night. And then, of course, I hope some of you have seen this before, because we've been talking about this all over the place. It's been so exciting. The middle school band was selected to perform at the State Music Educators Conference. And you won't believe how many people were there for their 8 a.m. performance. It was really, really cool, and the kids did an excellent job. And one of the most fun things was not just their performance, which was outstanding, but the way that they had videos describing each piece, why it was selected, and what we as audience members should be listening for. I thought that was really something, because it helped make it so much more personal for those of us in the audience. And then they were also on Wake Up Wisconsin. Our communications director, Erica Mundinger, met these wonderful students there. We had Miss Sider, our OHS or OMS band teacher. Brady Bartlett and Makeda Mitchell were both there by 5:30 in the morning to be on the Wake Up Wisconsin show. And we had their debut in band class last week. We were able to go in and all watch their debut together, and they did a fantastic job. Very, very poised. And that concludes.
Thank you to you, and especially to Erica for putting that together. I think it's one of the favorite parts of the board meeting, that we really get to see the breadth and depth of all the things that our kids are accomplishing with our educators. So thank you for putting that together. Okay, moving already to F to closing. So future agenda, the board will meet in 2 weeks. So if you have anything that particular that you want to discuss with me for the agenda, please do so. And then we will go to checkout. So I'll go around the horn to see if anyone has anything for checkout before we move into closed session. Mary, anything?
I do. So just two quick things. I will be remote for the next board meeting. And then I also wanted to call out the Oregon Area Cares Coalition, near and dear to my heart. But so they have been working in the background in our community for the last, 4 or 5 years. And their goal is to provide tools for us as a community, us as a district, to identify and prevent youth substance misuse. And this year they were recognized. They were 1 out of 15 across the nation for these coalitions and honored with a Blue Ribbon Award. So I just wanted to call them out.
Thank you, Mary. Heather? Leslie? Anna? Tim?
I was with another group on Saturday raking lawns, and I cannot tell you how awesome it was on Saturday morning to find 2 of our lawns raked by the middle school kids. It was glorious. I can tell you that from years of experience raking lawns the second Saturday. And we were joined by one of the middle school young man from the middle school who I work with on a weekly basis, who offered to help us Saturday morning, having raked all day on, or for however long, raking those lawns on Friday as well. And so I just, we're raising some very thoughtful kids.
It's funny that you said that because my 21-year-old daughter was in the car with me Friday as we were driving to our house and we saw people raking. I was like, oh, Erin, do you remember that? She's like, oh my gosh, of course I remember that. But she wasn't speaking glowingly of it, but it was a good experience. So thank you for mentioning that. Okay, we will now take about a 5-minute recess and we will convene in closed session at 7:10.